Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Shaw Local Bears Insider Podcast. I am Michael Dwojak here with the Northwest Herald's Joe Aguilar as we are joining you guys on Thursday morning, a little bit of a different schedule for you guys because we got a big one on Saturday night. The Bears are going to be hosting the Green Bay Packers in front of a national audience. Stakes couldn't be any bigger. It's going to be a huge matchup, Joe. It's kind of felt that way this whole week leading up to it.
Yeah, wow. When was the last time we had a game this big? I know it seems like so many games this season have been big games, but none bigger than this, right? You control your own destiny. And then Kevin Warren drops the bomb yesterday about the stadium. I don't know if we're going to get into that at all, but the timing just seemed like can we just talk about the big game Saturday night? So, but anyway, very excited for the game, as many are.
Yeah, it's an interesting time, right? Like obviously, we can. I see the guys are already in the chat, and I saw some guys say that they don't want to talk about it. I feel like we have to talk about it at least for a minute or two. We'll spend most of the time on the game, like you mentioned, Joe. But yeah, Kevin Warren on Wednesday night decided to release an open letter saying that the Bears are reopening their search for a new stadium that could still continue to include Arlington Heights, but it'll include the whole Chicagoland area, including Northwest Indiana. And as soon as I saw that open letter, I was just kind of like, really now? Like now is the time to do this? I mean, the timing has just not been. Obviously, this whole process has not been a great process, and I don't really want to get into the X's and O's of the stadium search at this point. It's more of an off-season topic for me at this point. But last year you have this whole Chicago stadium press conference the day before you're about to draft who you presume is to be your generational quarterback with the number 1 pick, and then now you've got a couple of days before probably the biggest regular season game in at least the last 5 years. And then Kevin Warren decides to send this out. Obviously I know there's some PR thought of being like, well, we've got leverage. Everyone loves the Bears right now. Maybe people are more open to, giving public money and that kind of stuff. But Joe, as soon as I saw that, I was driving home and I heard the news. I was just kind of like, really now you're dropping this now with what's at stake on Saturday night?
Yeah, and it's not positive news. It'd be one thing. It was like, hey, we're going to get those shovels in the ground after all, even though we have 2 weeks left in December, like he had promised that we would see shovels in the ground in 2025. Well, that'd be one thing if he had positive news, but this is more, news to get everyone a little angry and wondering what's the next step. I mean, again, we can get into it at some other time. I don't understand all the politics of it, very little of it, truthfully. But I know this, and I think you would confirm. I mean, he was supposed to be Mariano Rivera, right? He was hired to be the closer, to get this deal done. And here we are. I mean, it's been, how long's he been on board? Is it more than 3 years? Is it almost 4?
I think it's his 3rd season, yeah.
3rd season. So let's go already. And no one's happy about it, but and then he said in the letter to the fans that it wasn't for leverage. Well, of course it is. He can't say that, but you don't say it's not for leverage, because it is for leverage. If you want to go to Indiana and anger, I would guess this fan base, I don't think that's going to go over very well. But it's a topic for another time. But let's talk Bears Packers. What do you say?
Yeah, you don't really. I agree. You don't really threaten moving to Indiana unless it's for leverage at this point. I mean, it was an interesting move. We'll see where this goes. I don't know. The Bears were supposed to get a new stadium in Chicago a year ago. They were supposed to solely focus on Arlington Heights. We'll obviously follow this story, but yeah, it was just interesting timing just to release that news. The only thing I was kind of like, big Bears news I heard on the radio, and I was like, oh, did they finally get the stadium done? Like this, like the only time to really announce stadium news is like good stadium news. It's like, all right, guys, like we're gonna break ground next year. We worked through some property tax stuff, like we worked with the legislation. But again, it's just sometimes this team just kind of gets in its own way for no reason at all. So
yeah, well
we'll
said.
follow that obviously moving forward, but obviously we've got a big game to talk about for Saturday night. I see everyone is in the chat already, talking up. Got some good conversations going. Appreciate everyone joining us in the chat on YouTube. Make sure you give us a like as well. If you're joining us on Facebook, you can also drop us a comment, a question in the comments too. Those should appear in our chat as well. And give us a like and a love once you're there. And also, if you're listening on the podcast, make sure you're also subscribing and liking us there. Joe, let's talk before we get into our usual previews, key matchups, all that sort of stuff. Let's get into the injury report. Obviously, the two biggest injuries for the Bears right now are Rome Odunze, Luther Burden third. When we heard from Ben Johnson earlier this week, he didn't have a timeline for either guy. For Rome Odunze, he said all options are on the table. While Luther Burden kind of seemed more like a week-to-week thing than a day-to-day thing. Both guys did not practice on Wednesday, the first practice that they had. We'll see what they do here later on Thursday, and we'll hear from Ben Johnson here in a couple hours. But on the negative side, it's going to be tough. Obviously, I know they were able to do it against the Browns on Sunday, but playing without both Rome and Luther should be a little bit of a challenge here.
Yeah, that's not good news at all. And it was nice to see they rediscovered, that's probably too strong of a way of putting it, DJ Moore last week. But having both guys out, who steps in? Might we see Jade Walker, the kid who was one of the stars of the preseason, who earned his roster spot? We haven't seen him all year, haven't needed him all year, not to catch the football, but now you might need him. I don't know if that's been discussed, Michael. Burden and Odunze still haven't been ruled out yet. We'll find out today, I guess, on this Thursday. But that's huge, especially the way Luther Burden III here has progressed steadily throughout the year. We've talked about this whole draft class and the contributions it's made, and he's certainly been a big part of that. And then Rome, yeah, it'd be nice to get him back. Your first round pick from a year ago, who's also having a good year. And we've talked ad nauseum about the drops and balls he should be making, catches he should be making that he hasn't been. But that aside, we've seen what a weapon he is. Now to have both of those guys down in a game where I think your quarterback has to outplay the other quarterback, unlike 2 weeks ago, it's huge.
Yeah, I think it's definitely very huge. And I was kind of looking at when I was kind of putting together the injury report, I was like, all right, is Luther Burden, and I know Rome is obviously their lead target and lead receiver guy, but I was curious to see where Luther kind of ranks in the thing. And actually, Colston Loveland is number 3 on the team with 498 yards, 39 catches, and 54 receptions. So, obviously you don't want to lose Luther. You saw what kind of an impact he can make in the game on Sunday. But I think that, I think heading into this game, again, like I talked about last week, if there's a position where you're kind of comfortable, dealing with injuries, it might be the wide receiver room, right? And again, listen, if they keep dropping like flies, I mean, eventually you're going to be like, okay, like this is not great, but you still got targets. You still got DJ Moore. Colston Loveland has been a big safety net for Caleb Williams this year. Cole Kmet is obviously a big pass catcher. And I think Olamide, obviously throughout the year, I know he had that game where, he missed a couple throws, and that was kind of the transition to getting Luther more involved. But I think Olamide has still proven to you that he can still be a dependable guy, right? So it isn't the best case scenario if you obviously play without Rome Odunze, Luther Burden. But I think you have enough targets for Caleb where let's get Luther and Rome healthy for the playoffs, assuming you're obviously able to make the playoffs or for the final 2 games there, instead of rushing them here in this game on Saturday.
Yeah, and we know the bread and butter anyway has been the running game. So it's not like any of these receivers are having career years or putting up monster numbers. I mean, the Bears, I checked last week, Michael, I'm sure you know this, they don't have, as far as receptions, a guy in the top 60. That was as of last week. So it's, I think Rome is, I think you mentioned their leading pass receiver receptions wise. Is it fewer than 50 catches on the season?
He's got, let me see real quick. He's got 44.
44. I mean, we got 3 games left, I mean, that's paltry. And that's your top. So again, the receptions haven't been there for a variety of reasons, but you don't have to get into that. But regardless, the eye test, if you're watching the games every week like we are, like the fans are, you see how good the player those guys are. And again, the ascent here of Luther Burden III, we're finally getting him going now, and now he's hurt, which would be a real shame.
Some positive injury news. Linebacker Tremaine Edmonds, the Bears activated his 21-day practice window to come off injured reserve on Monday. He was back at practice on Wednesday in limited fashion. In an estimated injury report on Tuesday, he would have been a limited participant as well. We'll see what they decide to do with Tremaine this week. I do wonder whether I could see this going one of two ways. One way, they just kind of give him another week and just kind of let him get, especially with what happened with Kyler Gordon and Rome Odunze. I obviously don't think they want to rush guys back by any means, but I also could see it going where if he's like full or limited today, I can see him being listed as questionable. They upgrade or they activate him on I guess it would be Friday. They would have to activate him by Friday at 3 p.m. And then he would maybe play like split snaps with like DeMarco Jackson, who, by the way, was your NFC Defensive Player of the Week. So yeah, I can see it going that way. But even if it's in limited fashion, Joe, it has to be encouraging that your defense is getting as healthy as it's going to get at this point. Yeah, you're without Kyler Gordon. You're obviously without Dio Dangbo and Shamar Turner. But for the most part, in the most important games of the year, your defense is trending toward being healthy now.
Yeah, I mean, Gordon's the disappointing one. We knew Odangbo and Turner with the season-ending injuries. I mean, that wasn't a possibility coming back. But they get Edmonds back, that'd be fantastic. I mean, he was having a really good season, as we know, 4 interceptions. And he's been a lot better this year with Dennis Allen than he was last year, in my opinion. But again, the DeMarco Jacksons of the world, that's just stunning. I was trying to think like Zach Pickens being like, I don't even know if he's on an NFL roster or a practice squad now, but it'd be like him being defensive player of the week. And you're like, Zach Pickens. So the Saints fans must be thinking the same thing. Again, this is Jackson, a 5th round pick 3 years ago. I think it was. It didn't work out. And we talked about the familiarity he has with Dennis Allen and the credit to not only Ryan Poles, but the coaches for finding guys like, I think we can fit him in here and use him this way and get the most out of him. That's all any player, any athlete at any level, right, wants from a coach. And that's what's happening here in Chicago. So even going back to the wide receiver situation with the injuries, you kind of figure, well, you know what? They just keep finding guys. Maybe it's Jade Walker or somebody else if they need. I'm not saying I don't even know what's the status of Jade Walker is, because he's been on the injury report too, right? At points this season. Even if he can't go, maybe it's somebody else. It's just one of those seasons where when they need some guy who maybe outside of Chicago you've never heard of, they step up. And so getting back to the defense, I mean, we've seen that on defense all year, not only with Jackson, but with other guys. No bigger example than Deshaun Wright. So maybe that'll be the case with the offense too.
CJ helping us out here saying that Pickens is on the Chiefs roster. So good for Pickens to obviously still be out there in the roster. Some other Bears injury news. DeAndre Swift was added with a groin injury on Wednesday in limited fashion. We'll see what that's about today. I'm not concerned about it now, Thursday morning. Obviously, that can change here later on in the day. Cole Kmet has been limited with an ankle and knee injury. He said after the game on Sunday, though, that he should be fine. So not a worry there. Also talking about injuries, the Packers got a lot of injuries going on right now. Josh Jacobs, their running back, has not participated with the knee and ankle injury this week. He told reporters earlier this week, though, that he is going to play. So we'll see how that looks. Lucas Van Ness has been limited yesterday. Christian Watson was limited yesterday. Devontae Wicks was limited yesterday. Evan Williams did not participate yesterday. So I think those are all the major ones. Obviously, Micah Parsons is not going to be playing in this game, but Packers are pretty battered up here too, Joe.
Yeah, they're not going to get any sympathy for. Not going to have any sympathy for the Bears with their injury situation when they just lost one of the best players in the game at Micah Parsons. So, I mean, and then Christian Watson, I guess he was limited yesterday. I think maybe you said that, or I heard that he had the chest injury. That
Yeah,
interception by Patrick Surtain, unbelievable play. That's where he got hurt. So, and we saw Watson's been hurt too this year. And then you look at his numbers; they're not, they kind of look like a Bears wide receivers numbers, like they don't jump off the page. But we know how good he is. We saw how good he was, and how he can hurt a defense with that speed, in particular when the Backers played 2 weeks ago. So yeah, they're gonna every team, right? We talk about it all the time. All 32 teams in the league right now are banged up. So but when you lose Micah Parsons, we talked the last time when the Bears played the Packers, leading into that game, that our podcast about he's the biggest difference right now between these two teams. You can go back and forth, and the Bears have the better offensive line, they got the better quarterback, go down the whole list, but they have the best player in Micah Parsons. And again, I'd rather, if I'm the Bears, just even as a fan, I want to play the Packers with Micah Parsons, right? You want to beat the best and getting
sure.
back to that whole idea. So I feel bad. He's great for the game. So it's a really shame that he's not going to be playing the rest of the season.
All right, let's get into this match, into our preview here. Bears taking on the Packers Saturday night at 7:20 on Fox. Joe, what is your key matchup to watch for Saturday night? I know it's obviously, these two teams saw each other, 2 weeks ago, so I don't know how different they will be, but what is a key matchup for you on Saturday night?
Well, to me, it's got to be Caleb Williams against this Packers defense, which now is minus, as we just mentioned here, Micah Parsons, because Parsons, even though he did not have a sack against the Bears, we saw how disruptive he was almost every time Caleb was going to throw a pass. So now that he's gone, you can't, you want to say the word trap game because the Packers lost Micah Parsons. You think, it'll do it easier, but they're still better than you. They've been finishing ahead of you in the standings forever. So you have to, you can't take them lightly. Plus, it's the Packers, right? But that said, Caleb has to have a big game here. So, and they don't have their guy, and the multiplier, as we've used the word here in Chicago, I'm sure elsewhere too, but they don't have that guy. So can you take advantage of it? But the Bears don't have they might not have their, two of their better receivers. So I don't know if that offsets or not, but not having the Micah Parsons, I'm curious to see what the Packers might do. How they want to, if they get to stack the box and just make Caleb throw again from the pocket. I don't know. But to me, how do they adjust? Do guys step up their game? And I'm sure they're like, they got to be thinking we're more than just Micah Parsons, and we love our brother and our teammate, and we're going to miss him, but we're going to go out there and show that we can get to the quarterback and we can pressure even without him. Because they were a good defense last year, even without Micah Parsons. So we'll see how fired up, inspired they are. Especially, like both teams are going to be fired up. That goes without saying, right? No one wants to lose this game, the rivalry, and what's at stake.
Yeah, it's an interesting conversation, right? Because you're kind of trying to figure out what are the Packers going to do here? Like, how different is this defense going to look? And, Caleb and Ben Johnson both kind of talked about that, where they do have experience going against this defense without Micah Parsons. Like, obviously, Caleb did it last year during his rookie season. And Ben obviously did it with the Lions the previous 3 seasons as their offensive coordinator. So it will be really interesting to see what changes do the Packers make? Are they sending more? Do they really want to, obviously Rashawn Gary is still a really good defensive end. He's got 7.5 sacks. Lucas Van Ness, the Barrington native, he obviously, I know, is dealing with an injury, but he can make an impact as well. So this defense has playmakers on it besides Micah Parsons. Like, heading into the season, if the Packers didn't trade for Micah Parsons, we'd still be talking about a really talented defense led by the Packers defensive coordinator. He's likely going to get a head coaching job this year. If not, maybe he'll get a lot of interviews. Maybe it's not a guarantee, but he will be interviewing for head coaching jobs. So because he's done a really great job with that defense. So I am really interested in watching the cat and mouse game of how do the Packers switch things up? Are they confusing Caleb with different looks? Are they confusing Ben with different looks where you think they're going to run this coverage and instead they do something else? So I am really interested in watching that matchup because I think that, listen, it's going to be really important for this offense to get off to a quick start. So in order to do that, you're going to have to, maybe take advantage of a defense that is still trying to figure out who it is without Micah Parsons. So I agree that'll be really interesting to watch. Just what is that cat and mouse game like between Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams and that Packers defense? My big matchup to watch is can the Bears do what they did in the second half and assert their run game right from the start? It didn't happen in the first game, and it kind of led to, inconsistent play by Caleb in the offense, right? Like you didn't see the results you wanted. But then in the second half, you saw the Bears run their offense the way they did against the Eagles, right? Like they just dominated with the offensive line. They were pushing down the line. They were confusing the Packers with all the different motion and stuff like that. And that's something the Bears are going to have to do here quickly because you saw how important getting off to a quick start is. If you even waste one possession, like Ben Johnson talked about, like that could be the deciding factor in, if you're going to win on Saturday. And like he said, you can't have a warm-up possession. You can't have a possession where you try to figure things out or whatever. Like you need to start right from the beginning. And I think the Bears do that by getting the run game going. It's been their bread and butter this entire season. It's been what has kind of led them to this 10-4 record. And I really think that it should just be something that they try to set really early on here.
Yeah, like you said, it's why they've won football games, and why this offense has produced despite the quarterback's inconsistencies. So, run the football. You can. You got two guys. Again, I can't stress the importance of DeAndre Swift, the year he's had, and again, maybe he's been the MVP for the offense all season, DeAndre Swift. But establish the run game because you can. And ultimately, Caleb's got to play well here. But run the ball, control it, and get some scores because this crowd's going to be ramped, Mike. It's going to be loud. I mean, it's outside, but it's going to be loud. It's not going to be like the Blackhawks in the prime at the United Center loud, but it's going to be crazy. And you got to take advantage of your home field, and you got to beat this team. You got to beat this team, and I don't know if we'll talk about it eventually. It seems like we're talking about it all the time about the playoff picture, but to me, if you lose to the Packers, boy, you're really going to create a mess here for yourselves, and you still got the Lions and the Niners, but beat this team. You're at home, and it'll be absolutely huge if it happens. And look, at this point, we got 3 games left. You got to stick to what's worked for you all season after that slow start, and that's, as you mentioned, the running game.
CJ, chiming in for the Bears to start the run game. Monungai should get the first series, and I like Kyle, and I think he's done a great job this year. And I think the big reason why I think you start off with Swift. Swift has shown that he can pick. He's averaging 5 yards per carry. Like Swift isn't a problem here. But I think the problem has been that Monungai hasn't really gotten a chance to play in the first series because the first series hasn't really gone on for that long, right? Like you've kind of put yourself into situations where you're at 3rd and 7, where you're not going to put Kyle Monungai in at 3rd and 7. Not that he's just a short yardage back, but I mean they've kind of been using him a lot in those short yard situations. So I agree. It would be good to kind of get your double, your dual running backs in there. But again, it's about picking up that first down that Ben Johnson likes to talk about a lot. If you can't do that and you go 3 and out, that's just a wasted opportunity. Robert also brings up a big a matchup here. He says, is the Bears crowd going against Jordan Love and the Packers offense? They got to be loud. And that's actually something that I'm kind of curious about for Caleb, because I'm imagining it's going to be juiced up in Soldier Field on Saturday night. people have had an entire day to tailgate out in the lots. It's supposed to be relatively warm for this time of season. It's the week before Christmas. Like, that crowd is going to be juiced up. So I am curious, does that lead to adrenaline, and does that maybe lead to inconsistencies from Caleb? Like, do you maybe run the ball more on the first series because you're like, well, maybe Caleb and the guys have the adrenaline going. Maybe he's got a little bit too much excitement. He overthrows a pass or underthrows a pass. You know what I mean? So I am curious to see how that matchup kind of looks, because maybe it does make sense to run the ball to start the game, get the crowd going, and then you kind of ease your way into that first series instead of maybe trying to, maybe go for an explosive to start the game off.
Oh, yeah. And the other thing that's worked for them, too, with this running game, it's in tandem with keeping the other team off the field. And Jordan Love still scares me. He should scare every Bears fan because he's really good, right? I mean, and you saw what he did against the Bears 2 weeks ago. If you needed a refresher, there it was. So if you can, like the Philly game, just pound it. I mean, that's ideal, right? That's nothing is more macho and assertive, empowering than being able to run the football down the other team's throat. And if you can do it against the Eagles, and if you can do it against the Packers like you did against the Eagles, this will be fantastic. But keep the other quarterback off the field, because he scares me. And this defense, we saw even last week again, where it's vulnerable at times, even against Cleveland. But if the run game would work, and DeAndre Swift should start, he should start. And I love Mononga. He's been unfreaking believable this year, and I didn't think I would like him as much as I have, but he is quickly becoming, to me, a fan favorite. I think I speak for a lot of fans about Mononga. But Swift, man, like I said, there'd be no reason not to play him, and that's 5 yard per average per carry. It's legit. It's not like he's getting 2, 3, 2, and then he breaks off a one. I mean, everything is pretty consistent with him. So that part's not broken, so I'm not going to try to fix it.
Other key matchup, CJ chiming in with the Green Bay slot receivers versus the nickel. That's obviously something that burned the Bears the first time around. Jalen Johnson talked about it yesterday about limiting the explosives. And that's something the Bears are going to have to do. Listen, the 3 touchdowns that Jordan Love had against the Bears in the first matchup, they were all explosive plays. They were all for at least 24 yards. I think it was 25 yards. So you're really going to have to limit that there. And I think that I'm interested to see what Dennis Allen's plan for that will be. Rick chiming in, he says that the Bears pass rush versus the Pack O-line, Love, while pressured, is not the same quarterback. The Broncos proved that. Robert chiming in right after him saying, Rick, I'm not sure the Bears have a pass rush that counts as a pass rush. Nothing like the Broncos anyway. I would agree with that. Listen, you didn't acquire an all-pro pass rush over the past couple of weeks. So that's just, it didn't work the first time. So I think I am curious to see, with Jalen Johnson back and Tyreek Stevenson back, do you blitz more with Jaquan Brisker and CJ Gardner-Johnson, right? Like, do you not need to rely on those guys as much in coverage? Or do you send one guy, or do you just confuse Love by pretending to send both, but then you don't send both? That's the way you're going to boost that pass rush, because I think obviously I wrote last week, Montez Sweat has had a really good season, but he hasn't had much support, and I think the only support at this point is going to come from the outside, and that can be with Brisker or CJ Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah. Well, when they blitzed 2 weeks ago, it didn't work out well. I mean, Jordan Love's really good, and he's got such a nice touch, a real catchable ball, as the receivers like to say. He throws a nice catchable ball, but the blitz didn't work against him last week. He's savvy, maybe picked up some of that from Rodgers when he was his understudy. I don't know, but I'd be very careful not to blitz him too much. And the pass rush, we've pretty much talked about it all year, the lack of it. 5 sacks against the Saints, but that was a couple came late. Not that they don't count, they do. But I don't think, and that'd be great if they could build off that a little bit, but I wouldn't count on it. We can't count on it because it just hasn't been there consistently all year.
Yeah, and I just think listen, the Broncos pass rush is one of the best pass rushes in the entire league. Like it's just night and day
Yes.
compared to the Bears. All right, Joe, what is your surprise prediction for Saturday night?
Surprise prediction. Maybe it goes in hand with my MVB. I think Caleb's going to play well. I just like what we've been seeing more and more. I know we harp, and I don't want to throw you into this. I harp on the completion percentage all week, but we see it. But I think lately I just want to see him play 4 quarters. He doesn't have to throw for 350. But just be more consistent. I just think Caleb's gonna have one of his better games of the year. Maybe I'm kind of trying to will that too, because I think that's what's gonna be required. I just don't see a scenario where Jordan Love is the better quarterback again and the Bears win. Unless the Bears can somehow get 2-3 turnovers like they've been doing. They got one off in the last time. But I think Caleb is really due for a complete game because we've been teased by a little bit. I mean, last week we talked about it on Monday. You take out those drops, maybe the numbers look a lot better. The completion percentage looks a lot better. But I think Caleb's just ready for a big game here. It's going to be these are the games, right? These prime time games. This game is as big as it gets. There are a lot of great games, by the way, in the NFL. I know because we do our picks for the Shaw Media, and I'm like, I don't know. These are all kind of tough games. Should be a lot of fun games in the NFL, particularly. Oh, starting tonight, in the NFL. But Caleb, the bright lights, his time, baby. He's made for these moments, right? Was that the DJ Moore quote from earlier in the season? Let's see it Saturday night.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it just seems like the moment for him right now, and so it'll be interesting to see how he plays. If they are able to get the run going, if that sets him up and he's able to get some explosive plays, and he does find DJ Moore, Colston Loveland, or Cole Kmet and that sort of stuff. So, I can see that happening as well. My surprise prediction will be that the Bears will pick off Jordan Love 3 times. He was vulnerable last week. He had his first multi-interception game against the Broncos last week. I think it'll be a situation where the Bears pick him off a couple times, during the game, and then it's kind of like hero time at the end of the game. And I think that maybe the Bears get that 3rd interception. So this team, listen, this Bears team, they win when they produce more than one turnover, right? Like that's been their MO this entire season. So that'll maybe kind of lead you to my prediction for the game. But I do think that the Bears they'll get 3 interceptions on Jordan Love, which will be a really definitely a season first, might even be a career first for him.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. You're better at the predictions than I am, so I hope you're right because that's how you could win. I mean, but that's how you win. 3 turnovers against that guy. Whew, Bears fans will be loving that.
Rick chiming in with a surprise prediction that an offensive lineman catches a touchdown pass. I like that pick. That was Joe's pick last week. Yeah, I could see that, especially. Well, maybe not. Now I'm talking myself out of it a little bit. They obviously did it against the Packers, and Theo Bennett was obviously blocked from the bottom and kind of stopped him from doing that. So maybe they don't run that play again. But I could see them getting them involved. I think Ben Johnson is in front of a national audience against Matt LaFleur. I think he's bound to bring out a couple tricks or two. All right, Joe, last week for most valuable Bear, you went with Kevin Byard. I went with DJ Moore. DJ Moore obviously had the big game. Kevin Byard had a fine game, but nothing special when it comes to our fantasy points here. So I went again. That clinches my season win for most valuable Bear. It was a good game. You made it interesting there after a quick start from me, but
this was a rout. No, you could take credit. This was a rout. This is like match play, and it's over by the 14th hole, pretty much. So good job.
Well, we're still going to play here. We're still going to do most valuable Bear this week. Maybe. Well, listen. If the Bears make the Super Bowl, I guess you can still win this thing.
I can
so I guess I guess if we're just doing the regular season, I win. But depending how far the Bears go, maybe we won't stop. We won't stop the count. We'll still keep counting here, and we'll keep things going here, though. But I won last week. It's my pick this week to go first, and I gotta burn my Caleb pick here sometime. I don't feel confident about doing it against the 49ers next week. And that Packers game, I don't know what the weather is going to be like. So I'm going to use Caleb this week. I'm going to go with the Caleb pick. I think the running game is going to be really good actually this week. But I have one Caleb pick left this season. I don't want to use it next week, and I don't know what the weather is going to be like in a couple weeks. I think the forecast is supposed to be good for this time of year on Saturday night. So I'll go with Caleb. I think he'll make some critical plays, and he'll be my most valuable Bear.
Yeah, that's a good one because I was thinking about going Caleb too. Getting back to last week, one final thought on our MVBs. I thought the secondary would be able to pick on the rookie quarterback, and they did in the second half. I just had the wrong guy. I maybe should have said the whole secondary in general. I wasn't sure who was going to have the big game, but I figured the veteran Bayard would be able to get to the kid, and he didn't. Instead, it was they had the three other guys. Gardner
Should have said DeMarco Jackson. That would have been the ultimate pick. That would have been like the ultimate most valuable pick of most valuable Bear pick of all time.
All of the year, right?
Yeah. You would have just won the competition had you called that, and it worked out.
I should have said Austin Booker, because then maybe I would have won, because he had 2 sacks.
Yeah.
My guy Booker. But for this week, boy, well, I how many times have I burned the DeAndre Swift card? I don't know if there's a Shaw local Bears Insider podcast rule on that. How many times I can burn a running back? But
no, you can use them all the time.
Pardon?
You can use them all the time.
Oh, good. I'm gonna go. It's kind of a vanilla pick, but I'll go with DeAndre Swift. I just love the way he's played all year. Really, after you take out those the Bears' first couple of stinkers, first 2-3 games they had this season. But DeAndre Swift, man, go. Again, I think we were talking Monday or maybe last week about a lot of good running, a lot of guys in the NFL and the NFC in particular having good years running the football. But DeAndre Swift, man, you look at his carries compared to some other guys, because the fact that he's been sharing the load with Monangai, and it's worked. But DeAndre Swift, it'd really be kind of nice to see him finish strong. He should go over 1,000 yards for the season in this game. I think he's at 930 something. Needs about 70 yards to go over 1,000. Nice to see him finish strong, because he could end up having 1,100 plus yards rushing, maybe 12 on the season if he keeps going at this rate. And I think he's deserved of a Pro Bowl berth. I don't know if he'll get it, because again, there's a lot of good backs in the NFC, but he's had such a really good year for this team, and just consistent too. Just consistently, even last week, didn't quite get to 100. He was just shy of it, but he's been the man this year. After all the talk in the preseason and early in the season about the Bears' struggles at running back, why didn't they grab one? Why didn't they go trade for one? Etc. But I'll go with number 4.
I like that pick. There was a time last year where I kept going with DeAndre Swift, and I just kept getting burned. It just never worked. And this year it's been the complete opposite. Like, when I haven't been able to pick anyone, I've just went with DeAndre Swift, and he's been just so consistent this season, right? Like, he's been exactly what you wanted from. Obviously, we've glazed Swift up this entire season with the big comeback that he's had this whole year. But I think I like that pick. So I can see Swift having a big impact on Saturday night. Rick going in with Loveland. Robert also going in with Loveland every single time. I like that pick. I think Colston, especially without Rome and Luther, should be a big impact day for him as well. All right, Joe, Saturday night, Soldier Field, 7:20 kickoff. What is your prediction for a big game between the Bears and the Packers?
Well, it's hard to pick the Bears in this game, because going back to when I was in high school, And I had one of my best friends was a Packers fan, and we'd bet all the time, and I'd always lose. And I probably owed him about, we'd have like our little $5 bet. That was a long time ago, Michael, when $5 was a lot of money. I lost so many times, and so many times we've seen this team that Aaron Rodgers, I guess, still owns them, beat the Bears. So for me to say Bears beat the Packers, it almost sounds foolish, but I'm going to go with the Bears. I think being at home, this crowd's going to be nuts, man. Like you said, this game's going to be drunk. I'm not saying anyone's going to be drunk before the game, but the game's going to be drunk. It has to be. I think it's going to live up to the hype, and I think the Bears somehow manage to win this game on their home field, and this city will be just buzzing. Now, if they lose, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's going to be bad. But let's think positive, right? Go Bears, and I'll take the Bears. Score. How about 24-20?
That sounds right.
Man.
I looked at the line again, and it's been flipping around all week. Now the Bears are favored by 1.5 points. That line has been going all over the place this entire week as people have been, obviously putting money into it. This is a big moment for this franchise, right?
Yeah.
Like when Ben Johnson took over this offseason, when the Bears drafted Caleb Williams with the number 1 overall pick, this is what you envisioned, right? Like this was the dream. You wanted the Bears to be playing in big games in December for a chance to, make the playoffs. Obviously, the ultimate dream is to go deep into the playoffs, make the Super Bowl, like play bigger games than, just making the playoffs. But for an organization that hasn't made the playoffs over the past 5 years, for an organization that, quite honestly, has just kind of been a laughing stock over the past 4 or 5 years. This is a big one. And I think the Bears live up to the moment. I think Ben Johnson said on Monday, like, is there any, you gave a lot of motivation, like, a challenge to not overlook the Browns last week. What's the message this week? And Ben was like, there's no message this week. Like, they know what's at stake this week. And I think the Bears are going to be prepared for that matchup. So I have the Bears winning this one. I'll go with 28-25. The 3 points sounds good. Actually, 28-24. I don't know how you would get to 25 points. 28-25. I think the Bears win. I think the Packers pull a late push there, but this just feels like a game that, and again, I saw Rick chiming in. I find it very strange that most of the local media picking the Bears to win. Strange times indeed. It is weird, and maybe there will be a letdown on Saturday night, but it just feels like with how close this team was a couple weeks ago and how imperfect of a game they played a couple weeks ago, they were still there with an opportunity to tie the game or to win the game, right? So you would imagine without Micah Parsons, the Bears are dealing with their own injuries, but without Micah Parsons, home crowd, Saturday night, this just feels like I don't want to call it a crowning moment because obviously they're not Super Bowl content or they're not a favorites to win the Super Bowl still. I don't think even if they win this game, but it feels like a very big moment for this organization.
Yeah, and look, they don't have Micah Parsons, and I'm sure they'll be fired up, as I said earlier, the Packers, and it's still a good defense, but he's the difference maker, and you take him off the field's got to slant a little toward the Bears with that. It's just natural, The Bears don't have a player like him on defense. They don't have a player. The best player, if all the players are healthy on both sides, he would be the best player on the football field out of almost 100 guys, right? Each way. Total. He's the best player, and he's not playing. And that's big. That's got to help the Bears. But Ben Johnson, too, we've talked about it the last few weeks now about he knows what to say. And, it's like Michael, I've always told my daughter that, like, I'm not going to give you too much parenting advice unless I see you need it. And she's not going to win. She's not a perfect kid by any means, but she's a good kid. So she hasn't needed it. But when she needs it, then I'll step in and say so. I think Ben handles his team like when they need it, he'll deliver the message. But otherwise, You shouldn't need a message here. I think you're smart enough. He trusts his players, the veterans, and even the rookies seem very mature. Not gonna wood. We haven't had any. I don't think we've even mentioned all year. No off the field drama, right? No squabbling. We haven't heard. You're closer to it.
Joe, let's not forget that big week where Roma Dunze dad said something that made everyone mad. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget the drama there.
That's it.
And that's been the drama. That's been
the drama. And then Rome did such a fantastic job of putting that fire out like a pro. Just speaks to, I think, the character in that locker room, from Bayard to the youngest guy on the team. I don't even know who it is, but it's a good locker room. It seems like. Would you tell me, because you're at Halas Hall every day?
Yeah, it's a good locker room. Listen, this is just a locker room that's just winning, right? Like, obviously, a locker room that's winning is going to be a happy locker room. But they all believe in Ben. They all believe in his message, and I think you're going to see that on Saturday night. That's going to be a team that's disciplined and is going to be ready to play. Rick chiming in, he's got Bears winning 23-17. Robert saying if Watson doesn't play for the Packers, or if he is in, he's less confident. Same with Luther Burden. Says a lot about Burden. Yeah, I think Watson can still burn you, but I do think that I'm guessing at this point Josh Jacobs is playing. He's an electric running back that, I don't feel like he made that big of an. Obviously, he scored the game-winning touchdown. But I was kind of like, all right, that's like a fine game for Josh Jacobs. Like, that's obviously a guy you have to watch out for. If Christian Watson doesn't play, maybe they rely more on the running game. But it feels like a big moment on Saturday night. I went through the situation, Joe, about how the Bears kind of look. Listen, this is the playoff scenario for this week. The Bears clinch a playoff spot this week if they win, and if the Detroit Lions lose. Let me get the specific thing, because there's, as always, there it is. The Bears will clinch a playoff spot this weekend with the win over the Packers and the Lions loss or tie to the Steelers, or a tie against the Packers and a loss and a Lions loss. So listen, I was asked this week on Green Bay radio, is it going to be devastating if the Bears lose to the Packers this week? And it's going to, it'll stink. Like, I'm not going to lie. I think Bears fans will say that'll stink if they lose, but quite honestly, it doesn't, you still have a chance to make the playoffs. Like, your biggest goal right now is you have to beat the Lions in week 18. If you beat the Lions in week 18, you're in the playoffs. It's as simple as that. If you win 2 of your next 3 games, you're in the playoffs as well. So Rick's chiming in here. He's saying, oh, it's going to hurt. Yes, it's going to hurt. I recognize that. I didn't say losing to the Packers wasn't going to hurt, but it's not going to derail your entire season. You still control your own destiny, even if the Bears lose on Saturday night.
Yeah, and we can have that discussion on Monday, whether they win or lose. But if they lose, I mean, it's going to be devastating. To me, it's more like big picture too. Like, you have to beat this team. You have to knock that team off, and Detroit. But this team, the Green Bay Packers. So whether you get in the playoffs, you don't. If you lose to the Packers, it's going to be, it's going to bother you, and it should. It's going to bother you in the offseason. But you're right, Michael. I mean, still 2 games left. And then it would be a test of their character. And we've just talked, I was anyway, talking 2 minutes ago about the character of this football team and the resolve and the belief you have in the coach, and the coach's belief that he has in the players. So you still have 2 games left, and your season is far from over. But if you lose the Packers, you're right. That Detroit game really becomes a must win. But if they win, oh boy, it's nice. But it's gonna hurt. It's really gonna hurt for all the reasons we know. This is, no matter what sport you follow, no matter what city you root for, what team. There's that team, right? Cubs, Cardinals. You got to get past the Cardinals. I'm a big hockey fan. Blackhawks had to get past the Wings. Like, you got to beat that team, and we know that team is the team from up north.
We'll know a lot about the playoff standings by the time the Bears and Packers play on Saturday night. Big matchup, like you mentioned earlier, Joe, to start off week. Where are we? Week 16. Rams and Seahawks, the two best teams in the NFC, are playing against each other. That'll go a long way in deciding who the number one seed will be in the NFC playoffs. And obviously, Bears Packers. Commanders and Eagles on is that other Saturday game. But then everything else is kind of mid after that. Everything, all the primetime games are good. Like the Patriots and Ravens are playing against each other on Sunday Night Football. And then the 49ers and the Colts are playing against each other on Monday Night Football. But that's to say, I think I think it's going to be really interesting to see how this whole thing plays out because – listen, if you win on Monday, you are feeling good. You are feeling like you're in the driver's seat for the NFC North. And we start talking about, I don't have to look up, I don't have to look up last minute plane tickets or hotel tickets for the playoffs. I can just cover it from Soldier Field. Like that becomes a much easier thing for me. So things definitely become a lot more fun. Not that it won't be fun even if they lose, but things become a lot more fun if they pick up that win against the Packers on Sunday night.
Yeah, no, every week's going to be fun throughout here, right? I mean, regardless of what happens Saturday night, it's going to be fun. We've talked about it now the last few weeks how this has been shaping up here. That it would be a grind. December would be a grind, no matter what plays out. And even if they had lost a game here, last month, it'd still be that position. So it's fun, right? Buckle in, enjoy Saturday night.
Rick quickly asking, was I born in Illinois? Yes, I was born on the northwest side of the city, Rick, so I know exactly all about the Bears-Packers rivalry. I'm more level-headed, though, than most Bears fans, I guess. But Joe, I did want to ask you before we say goodbye, do you know who mock drafts have as the number one pick in the 2026 draft?
Was it the Indiana quarterback?
I don't know. That's kind of the point of it all. I have not looked at a mock draft. Usually this time of year, I will be looking at mock drafts and being like, well, the Bears need to position this. They need to figure this out. Yeah.
But no, that's the beauty of it. You're 100% right. I know. Normally I've looked at like 100 mock drafts by now, right? And then it keeps changing up until, the night of the draft. But isn't it nice not to have to look and think, what if we lose the next 2 of the next 3? We don't want to win that game. You want to win every game, but you don't want to win that game because that'll drop you 4 spots in the draft. I've been in that mode for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
A lot of Bears fans. And
I'm
kind of it.
Now I'm kind of in the mode like, are the Bears going to be able to find a pass rusher in the late 20s? Like that's kind of where I'm like now when it comes to the draft. I'm like, are you going to be able to get a decent pass rusher in the late 20s at this point?
Who's there at 25?
Yeah. All right, guys. That's everything that we've got for this Thursday morning. Thank you so much to everyone who joined us on the live stream. Love the conversation with you guys. Make sure you give us a like if you're joining us on YouTube and subscribe. That way you know when we'll be posting our latest live streams. If you watched us on Facebook, make sure you give us a like there as well. We appreciate all the comments there on Facebook. And if you're listening to us on the podcast, thank you so much for doing so as well. Make sure you give us a like and subscribe there, and make sure you're checking out our social medias for the latest times for the live stream. Make sure you follow Joe at Joe Aguilar 64. I'll have your high school Northwest Herald coverage for the weekend, and I'll have your latest from Halas Hall this afternoon. Watch out for a feature this weekend, as well as the Bears coverage from Saturday night. I'm at Dwojak 94. So for Joe and I, thanks so much for joining us this morning. Have a good weekend. Have a good Saturday. Enjoy the game on Saturday night. And we will talk to you folks down the road.